All right, so we actually got some pretty positive news here coming out of the labor world as the UAW has officially struck some sort of tentative agreements with the big three automakers. You got Stellantis, you got Ford, and you got General Motors. And obviously about a month and a half ago, Shawn Fain, as the president of the UAW, began what they were sort of calling the stand-up strikes, which was a not really used or previously used strategy where you're sort of targeting very specific locations and plants and facilities to put as much pressure on these companies as you possibly can, while also saving money because you're not having everybody walk out at the same exact time. And it also kept the corporations guessing throughout this entire process, and it looks like his strategy ended up paying off. So here we have the big man himself, Shawn Fain, giving us an announcement on what these deals mean.
We have won record agreements at Ford, Stellantis, and now GM. We have united our membership like never before. We have shown the companies, the American public, and the whole world that the working class is not done fighting. In fact, we're just getting started.
Okay, so we're going to get to a little bit more on that "we're just getting started" line here in a minute, because it does look like they have some pretty significant things in the works right now. But just to give you a quick perspective in terms of some of the gains that they were able to make through the power of this union here. So as posted directly by the UAW, this is talking about the tentative agreement with Stellantis. So record profits equal record contracts. So they got wage increase in the original 2023 or in the 2023 Stellantis agreement of 25%. And this was bigger, 2 percentage points bigger than the entirety of all wage increases from 2001 to 2022. Over 2 decades. And in this contract, they got more than that. Absolutely unreal numbers there. And obviously, I mean, their first initial demand was like 40%, so they're shooting for the moon. They're trying to demand as much as they possibly can. That was obviously based on the amount that CEO pay has skyrocketed over the last couple of years. So, in these kinds of situations, you're probably never going to get every single thing that you're demanding, but it does put a sort of like higher threshold on what you're going to be able to get at the end of the day. And obviously, I don't need to tell you guys this, but the workers themselves are going to have to vote on this. So it could end up being that the overwhelming majority of the workers are unhappy with some of these agreements. But honestly, again, based on some of the things that we're getting out of this, I don't think that's going to be the case. But that's, again, the beauty of having a union, is that not only can you go to these corporations and collectively apply pressure to try to extract a better contract, better working conditions, wages, benefits, etc., but then you also have the added benefit that you get to directly vote on whether or not you even like that contract. And then if it's not enough, then okay, you keep the strike going. So again, just kind of the power of having a union or a union representative in the United States. So they continue here. Current Stellantis temps get 168% raise through the 2023 agreement. Some workers at Mopar get up to 76% raise immediately. Starting wage will increase about 67%, and the top wage will increase about 33%. They also say that they won back from 09 COLA in Stellantis agreement, and so this is the cost of living adjustments that they gave up back after the 08 financial crash, when a lot of these companies were basically like on the verge of utter collapse. And so you had a lot of these unions that basically gave up this COLA, this cost of living adjustment, as a part of trying to like save the company. And then what do you know, when the companies start making record billions and billions of dollars in profits, they didn't just magically give them back that COLA agreement. They had to actually go out on strike to get it, but it looks like they got that back with Stellantis. They say that they won back 3-year wage progressions, killed divisive wage tiers, which was another big sticking point in this. Since we launched our stand-up strike, Stellantis' offer increase in value by 103%. And then this is another crazy graphic here, the value of gains in the Stellantis tentative agreement. So this is during the 2019 agreement, and that's the value that they estimated, versus this one. The value of the gains in 2023 tentative agreement are worth more than 4 times the value of the gains in the 2019 contract, more in raises than the past, again, 22 years combined. So there you go. I mean, this is what this kind of a strategy and this kind of a power through collective worker organization can actually get you. We also had here from More Perfect Union, who's obviously been doing great coverage of this entire thing. The UAW has now secured historic tentative agreements at all of America's big 3 automakers. We talked to Ford workers about how these wins are unlike anything seen in generations. So let's go ahead and hear directly from these Ford workers just for a little bit.
Wage increase of that size was back in the 1940s or 1950s, after the end of World War II.
It's a record contract. That absolutely is.
They're not wrong when they say these are some of the biggest gains we've had since at least I've started.
Again, I have to see the details, but the raise sounds substantial, right? Not quite where we wanted to be, but it's substantial.
You know, I've seen our standard of living decline contract after contract, and this contract offers us an improvement in our standard of living for the first time in a very long time.
It took me almost a decade to get the top pay, but all future, workers will get there in 3, and that's a huge gain.
The fact that they were able to get things like COLA and things like the job protections and the right to strike over plant. I mean, those are huge, huge things that are going to change the future going forward for us and for.
So that was another big part. I didn't actually mention that with the Stellantis thing. I don't know if it's a part of just the Ford agreement or if it applies to other companies as well, but something that he just mentioned there is that as a part of at least the Ford agreement, they're going to have the right to go out on strike, to strike against plant closures, right? So if they're trying to export jobs overseas to Mexico or whatever the case may be, or if they're just cost cutting and trying to eliminate jobs to, save money for the shareholders or the executives, and they will have the right to go out on strike to try to prevent those jobs from being lost, which is, as they pointed out there, obviously absolutely massive. And then you also get a perspective here in terms of how, these massive unions like the UAW can also apply pressure on other companies to try to basically meet what these union wins are getting these workers at these unionized places, and try to basically give an incentive for their own workers to not unionize because they're terrified of the power that a union gets them. And so they say here again for More Perfect Union, right after the UAW announced that they're trying to organize other auto plants across the United States, Labor Notes was contacted by a Toyota worker in Alabama who said management had called an emergency meeting where they are now saying that Toyota is raising the top pay to $32 an hour. So again, unions are applying pressure in the marketplace on other places, even if they're ununionized car manufacturing plants, because then again, those bosses are like, oh shit, what if my workers, end up leaving this plant to go and work at Ford or Stellantis or General Motors where they have this union protection and good, union contracts and all of that, and so it forces them to also up the threshold of what their own workers are getting. And obviously, as you grow and as they start to add potential new unions as a part of the UAW, that power is just going to get more and more and more over time. They also say this here from More Perfect Union once again: there's a UAW organizing committee at Tesla's 20,000 worker factory in Fremont, California, and they're talking to coworkers about the benefits of forming a union. This comes as the UAW is winning big after announcing a huge agreement with Ford. Union president Sean Fain said that one of our biggest goals coming out of this historic contract victory is to organize like we've never organized before. When we return to the bargaining table in 2028, it won't just be a big 3, but it'll be a big 5 or a big 6. Okay, so this shit is absolutely fucking amazing. Okay, he's literally talking about going and organizing other major, car manufacturers in the United States and bringing them under the same label, which then gives them far more power and far more leverage if they ever want to go out on strike, like in 2028 when this contract is going to come up again, to extract even more and put even more pressure on these companies. So I mean, you absolutely love to see it. I think that this is a great move, and it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, especially under a company like Tesla, under Elon Musk's leadership, who is aggressively anti-union. So it would be amazing to see Tesla workers get under the same union protections at some of those factories as well. And this also plays directly into this, which just came across my timeline recently, which is the best of all of this. UAW tells other unions to align contracts in 2028 to set up for a possible national general strike. Okay, so again, if you have basically the entirety of the major car manufacturers in the US that are all unionized under the same UAW banner, then think about the amount of gains that they would be able to make. Think about the economic power that gives them when you're talking about a massive industry in the US, the car industry, and you're talking about having all of these major manufacturers under that one collective banner. I mean, this would be absolutely amazing. So again, there you go. I know that we don't usually get a lot of positive news on this channel, especially with everything that we've been talking about with Israel and Gaza, but this is a little bright spot here. You know, obviously I've been tracking this strike as it's been going on over the last month and a half. We've been talking about other strikes as well. You know, you've had the strikes over in Hollywood. You've had, you know, a ton of other different sort of organizing pushes, I guess, by other companies around the U.S. You know, we're still not where we need to be broadly in this country. Obviously, we need to, you know, get up to the point where we're having like 40, 50, 60% of the country that is unionized in order to really see a lot of the gains that could be had from having that collective worker organizing power. But, you know, we're definitely making gains, and it's meaningful, and you can see that directly in the kinds of contracts that the UAW was just able to gain. So solidarity with all those workers. You know, obviously Sean Fain has been absolutely killing it. He actually wore like a Eat the Rich shirt to one of his more recent press conferences, so that was kind of funny. And, you know, honestly, I wouldn't mind this guy Sean Fain running for president in 2024 or 2028, because clearly, you know, this is a much better mindset in terms of directly challenging corporate power and directly seeing gains from challenging corporate power and representing working class Americans than anything that we are getting from either Democrats or Republicans right now.
Everyone is saying good Politic guy has the best Politic. Believe me, no one does it like him. Believe me, everyone is saying